talking about growing up in a one-child-only China. I've brought in Elena Klorer tonight from the Mercator Institute for China Studies here in Berlin to talk more about this policy. Thanks for coming in. You know, when we listen to Shitao, you don't really sense that he's overwhelmed with joy about the change in policy. Is China, as a society, is it happy that this one-child policy is over?
Well, I think there is maybe not joy, but the policy is very welcomed by the society. However, I don't expect that there will be major changes in the life decisions people and families make.
Why do you say that? You don't think that people will want to have two children?
Actually, what we can see, the policy already has been relaxed 2 years ago. It was possible to have more than one child if one of the parents was a single child. And the number of births didn't rise significantly. So I don't expect that this policy change will bring much more birth and much more two-children families to China.
Do we actually know when people will be allowed to have two children without being punished?
So far, the time of the implementation of the policy is not yet announced, so we don't know yet.
So that's still up in the air. Let's talk about the last 35 years, what the results of a one-child policy are. You know, you've done excellent research on what the society is like now. You basically have a society full of only children, and most of them are men. I think I read something like 35 million more men than women. Why in the world are they going to want to have more children?
Well, the government hopes that they want to have more children because they had those restrictions for years, but I don't think that this will going to happen. The society changed in the last 30 years tremendously. Now the children who could have the young people who could have children today have grown up in a rich society, and they have other dreams than their parents who maybe wanted to have more than one child. They have the dream of independency, of freedom, of traveling.
So they're wealthy, the way the West is now. In your report, you say that the problem with all of this is the majority of the Chinese have not had a chance to become wealthy as we have in the West.
Yes.
So what you've had is this policy has actually led to an older society, but it's still a poor society.
That's true, and that's the major challenge the Chinese government faces, and why I think they try to relax the policy.
Is it going to work, though? I mean, there's basically very little social security for older people in China right now.
But the social security system is not yet stable, and this is the major problem. There are more and more older people, and less younger people have to sustain them. And I think the now introduced policy will only slightly maybe help to solve this problem. I'm sure that in about 2 years we talk not about the relaxation of the one-child policy, but we'll rather discuss what kind of incentives the Chinese government will introduce to encourage families.
So basically, like something like we see here in Germany right now. A lot of people have been also talking about who's going to want to have more children right now. Is it going to be the poor farmers, the people in rural areas? Are they the ones who are going to take advantage of this?
Well, I think the poor people, they already have more children, or some of them. Those are the ones who mostly kind of disrupt the policy. They had more children than they were allowed to because just the social security system was not stable enough that they could be sure that when they're old, they're going to be sustained by their one child. The policy targets the middle class, and I think exactly the middle class are those who are probably not going to have more than one child. It's too expensive.
It's too expensive. If you talk to people who have been in Beijing or Shanghai, they talk about just the inflation and the cost of living there. It's something, you know, 5, 10 years ago you could have never imagined. So are we going to look at the Communist Party in the next 5-year plan, maybe come out and say, here are the incentives then, if you give us 3, 4, maybe 5 children?
I don't think that it's going to be announced very, very soon, but I think this is the direction where China has to go to solve this problem.
And before we let you go, yes or no, is the take-home from all of this the fact that social engineering by the government or by the state doesn't work? It will backfire eventually.
It worked in the way that restricted, but it's much harder to loosen up the restriction. One-child family has become social norm, and it's very difficult to change this.
Elena Klorer with the Mercator Institute for China Studies here in Berlin. Thank you. Great to talk with you.